You ever feel like your construction business would just fall apart if you weren't there just one day? If you've ever had this happen to you, take a couple of days off and everything's a mess. This system is for you. This is the quick, simple 4 steps to getting finally organized and help your construction company become a well-oiled machine. This is the easiest step-by-step process that I've found to create organization throughout your company. So first off, how's your energy? Hope you're feeling well and excited to learn this amazing system. It's called MAPS. There's 4 steps, as I mentioned. We're getting to in a moment. So my big promise to you is you're going to get a straightforward method to systemize and organize your construction company. Why am I sharing this with you today? I have 20 years of contracting experience, systemized dozens, probably over 100 general contracting companies by this time. And we are really, our company, Rapid Result Creators, is all about leading a movement towards systems, leadership, and generational wealth for contractors who want more than just staying busy. Just staying busy and making a little bit of money is not what it's all about. About building a business, getting organized, and creating wealth that's going to outlast you and going to give you that beautiful life that you're looking for. So I want you just to start with the end in mind. Imagine waking up stress-free, jobs running smooth, your team knows what to do, and your phone's quiet. You're leading an organized business, and you finally have the time, money, and freedom you got into this for in the first place. So this is where we're going, and this is what this system that I'm going to help you go by step is going to enable for you in your business. If you've ever tried to build systems or get your business organized and it just hasn't clicked or hasn't worked out, you're probably missing one of these steps or not approaching it from the right direction. So I see this all the time. And from the first step, you're going to realize why this is not necessary. So the silent struggle, I call it the contractor struggle. Stressed culture, you're stressed, your team is stressed, maybe money's tight, projects are, running over, late projects, you're constantly firefighting, clients are frustrated, confusion on the job site, who's doing what, why don't people know what they're doing, why do we keep have to fixing other people's stuff that comes up. You have a high turnover of employees and you get to a point where you get burnt out. So I'm sure you've had at least a number of these, if not all of these, happen to you at some point, and maybe you're there right now. So you're in the right place. We're going to solve and fix all of this. So this is an overview of the MAPS process that I'm going to be sharing with you. The first one is MAP. So we're going to map out, what does the business look like? What is the landscape? Align. So get your team in alignment before you start plugging and playing a bunch of systems and new processes. We got to make sure everyone's on the same page. Prioritize. So you try to do everything at once, it's going to be ineffective. It's going to take forever, and it's going to be a hot pile of steaming shit and mess at the end of the day. And then systemize. So after all of those other like pre-construction to building your business, now we build systems because we know everything is set up and where we're going. So there's 2 components for mapping your business. We want to know, what do things look like? Where do we stand? So the first one's going to be an organization chart. And you may tell yourself, I've only got a couple of people in my business. Why do I need an organization chart? I'm the boss. I've got some workers, maybe, a site manager or a project manager, whatever. We don't need an org chart. The org chart is to give you a representation of the complete roles of your business, as well as to know into the future, how are you going to grow or get organized? Because if you're planning your business just to stay the same size forever and ever, you still need an org chart. But essentially, every business, including yours, you're going to want to grow. You're going to want to bring people in place so that you can step out of the day-to-day, so you can level yourself up as a leader. The org chart is going to show you leadership gaps. So I was working with a client recently who we built out their org chart, and it became very clear that there is no real leadership in the administration team and the office team within inside their company. And just from that, like realizing that, we could then assign someone and give accountability to someone else from a different department that was able to oversee the admin team, help provide direction, overall leadership, and just organize the company that much better. You'll find that in team gaps as well, and then opportunities will come up because you'll be able to see what the organization looks like. And I'll be showing you an example of an org chart in just a bit, so you know exactly what this looks like. The second part to mapping your business is you need to document the roles, responsibilities, and tasks. All of these steps that I'm going to be showing you until like the final systemized stage, this is really not about getting super detailed and stuck in the minutia. This is getting the big picture in place so that you know where to focus and where to get started. So for roles, we don't need a huge description. We just need to know, what is it? Project manager, responsibilities, making sure, budget, clients are happy, schedules are on pace, and things are done at a certain quality, right? You don't need like a huge document, just the basics of like what are they responsible for, and then what tasks do they do on a daily slash weekly basis. And you're going to want your people to do this documentation for you. If you're doing a job yourself as the owner, then you will fill out this roles, responsibilities, tasks. But for like a project manager, you've got office admin, even your workers on site potentially, give them a document, tell them just put this in. It doesn't have to be anything special, not worried about grammar or completeness. You just want to get whatever information you have onto a paper page document somewhere so that it can be utilized later. So this is an example of a construction company org chart. You're going to be at the top, CEO, president, head honcho, ruler of the universe, whatever you want to call yourself. And then you're going to have your VPs, vice presidents, or directors of your different functions of the business. And if you're like, I don't have any managers right now, or I've just have a project manager, you fill all those other gaps. So if you don't have a vice president of administration or a leader there, essentially that's going to be your role. Same with sales and marketing. So when you're starting a company, you're going to fill a lot of this chart, and your job is to build out these roles so you can then delegate, like just put a system in place and delegate it to someone else so you can then step out of this role. And the idea is you will slowly work your way up, this chain, if you will, to where you're more at the top in the management and vice president, CEO roles, and doing more of that on a daily, weekly basis than taking care of the lower rungs of the ladder here, so to say. So that's what a org chart looks like, and that's how you would use it. So now that you've got the train mapped, you've got you know what the organization looks like, and you've got just a basic kind of roles description of all the different roles of the company. Now you're going to align your people and your operations. So typically you're going to meet with anybody that's filled out one of those papers, or maybe if you've got a couple people in a team, like you've got a site manager and a project manager, you get them together with yourself and you're going to ask them questions. What's confusing? What's frustrating about the work that you're doing? What are the issues? Is there overlapping tasks? Maybe I've seen this before. Like I should say I've seen this before. I've done this before. As a project manager, going to site, it's like, oh, we need to stand this wall, or we need to get this framed out. We've got no one, and you got your project manager like swinging a hammer, or your site manager doing something that's like cleaning up at the end of the day. It happens every now and then if you don't have a lot of people. I understand, but you want to identify where those overlaps, because you're paying someone to do a certain job. So if you're paying project manager wages, they shouldn't be swinging a hammer. They should be managing projects or finding people that can swing hammers and do it better, or organizing the people, or whatever it may be, right? So that's just an example, but you're going to find where there are things that are overlapping as far as tasks, who's accountable, who's responsible. So most people kind of see this as the same thing. You probably know the difference, but you've got to make sure that your people also know. So at the end of the day, a project manager is accountable that the project's done on time, on budget, and clients are happy, right? As far as the responsibility of who needs to do things, that is probably the site manager or superintendent, whatever you want to call it. But the actual, site management, who's responsible for that, right? And then who's accountable. A good example of this would be like a weekly update. If you provide a weekly update to the client or to the management team, I would say the site manager is responsible for doing the weekly update because they're kind of closest to the site. But the project manager is accountable to actually that it's done and that it's correct, and then providing that to the client. So what are the differences there? Communication. How does communication happen in this role? A good like litmus test for if you have a good process is if you had to do this 1,000 times, is this how you would do it? If you had 1,000 projects, would you want your guys still writing down their hours on paper? Would you want them communicating with clients in a certain way, right? So that question will really hone in and define like what is the right kind of process overall, and the right way to approach this, and then brainstorm improvements. How can we improve this? How can we change things? What can we bring in? What can we eliminate? Good exercise is, what should we keep doing that's working well? What should we stop doing that's not working? And what should we just kind of leave as is because it's not really harming anybody and we don't want to change it right now? So brainstorm what can be improved. All right, so a little bit of trivia here just to break things up. So if you want to get our downloadable template for building systems in your business, check out the links in the description below. Click the link and go get signed up for the download. It is a spreadsheet that lists all the big functions of your business, similar to those roles on the org chart. And then it has all the different kind of systems, the main systems that you're going to need in place for those different functions, as well as a scorecard to say, what are we prioritizing and what, where are we at as far as like how good our systems are. So huge resource, really powerful resource, one that I use with my clients to keep track of where things are at and the systems we're building and everything. So go click the link below and get signed up for that. And you'll be well on your way to utilizing this process and having that in place. All right, so now a little bit of trivia. If you've ever gone to trivia night and had a couple beers or whatever, it's nice to learn a couple random facts. This one, not so random though. This is I found this on Autodesk, but what percentage of construction professionals' time is spent on non-productive tasks? So this could be yourself. You're definitely a pro and maybe doing the pro work, but professionals, anybody kind of on the management side of your business, how much of their time is being, non-productive or non-productive tasks? What do you think? 25, 30, or 35%? It's 35%. So nearly 14 hours per week is essentially wasted on non-productive tasks. And that's where those overlapping of tasks or just figuring out, what is important and what's not for each role can save you tons of time, tons of money, and make you much more profitable and efficient. And by getting all these systems in place that we're mentioning is going to get you well on your way to reducing this, make sure you're not one of those companies that is wasting a lot of their people's time. All right, making quick progress here. Number 3 is prioritize and plan. So maps, we've mapped it out, we've aligned the people. Now we know where things are at, but now we need to figure out where are we going to start? What are we going to prioritize? What are we going to plan? Everything may seem important, but we want to really get to the really most important things so we can be very focused and very pinpointed. This is how I work with all my clients and how we get really rapid success. And the reason you want to do this is because you want to make sure you're working on the right thing first. You're staying focused on it so you can get it done, because getting that first most important thing done makes the second thing easier. And the third one is like a domino effect, and the systems just start rolling and your business just starts humming along. And once everyone's on the same page and they realize how things are working, you get experience with it, this can happen pretty quickly and make just a world of difference. But if you do it in the wrong order or try to do everything at once, it just becomes a mess, and most people give up or just throw up their hands and like, we'll just go back to what we were doing before. So as far as prioritizing, we've got this Eisenhower matrix here. If you've ever seen anything like this, it's pretty common for a number of different things, but essentially you've got importance and urgency. What you want to do to prioritize is most to least important. So what's the most important part of the business that you want to systemize, and what's the least important? List those out by roles of that org chart that we had. What is the most important? What is the least important? It's not the most important necessarily to the company, like you think as a CEO, like I'm, the most important. But what is the most important to where you want to go with your goals, and where should we focus first? And then you want to also that same, you've got that list now, top to bottom, most important to least. Then you're going to make the same list with the same roles, but with urgency. What is the most urgent to least urgent? So if you've got like 10 estimates waiting to get out to clients and you're running low on projects, that is high urgency. You need to be able to, get a better estimating system and make sure that you're getting more projects in the pipeline and people aren't waiting too long, right? If you've got tons of projects and you don't have enough people and you're trying to like hire a bunch of people, then your hiring system, would be high urgency. So you're just going to list those out, and then you're going to have 2 lists, important and urgent. And anything that correlates, like you're going to add the 2 together. So if one's like a 1 on one list and a 3 on another list, added together, that would be a 4. And then, whatever is the lowest number is essentially going to more than likely be the thing you want to start with. But that should give you a really good indication of what is the most important and urgent of everything to do first. Anything that is important but not urgent, you want to schedule out. So you're going to, again, you're going to like, this is just getting what we're going to start on first, but you want like a list of things so you've got an implementation plan of how things are going to go down. Anything that is like very urgent, but it's not that important, you want to just kind of delegate that or leave it as is. Maybe you'll get to it someday. Anything that's not important, urgent, just delay it indefinitely. Eventually you may build it out, but it's just not something that needs to be thought about at this point. And then once you've identified that, so let's say you've got estimating, now what are the components and tasks that you're going to need in your estimating? So Is it, software and tech? Do you need some new software? Do you need better technology? Do you need another person to come into there? What are the steps inside there? Do you need cost codes? Do you need templates for estimating, pricing databases? What's all going into it? You're not building out the process yet, just what resources and things are going to need to kind of go into place for that thing that you're building a system for. All right, now my favorite step here is the systemize step. So we're all about systems. This is what we help our clients with, building out amazing systems. You can do this yourself. I would suggest you don't. It takes a lot of time, and most people just don't know how to do it effectively. If you want help building out systems, you want kind of like done for you and already prepared SOPs and training videos and all that stuff. We've done this repeatedly with many, many clients. So check out the links in the description below. There is links there to go to our website or get some free resources. I highly suggest you reach out to us if you want help with building systems quicker, more efficiently, with a lot less frustration. But now that we've done all that kind of like pre-construction work to building your business and systems and organization, now we can kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it, which is systemize. So a great quote by Michael Gerber, who is the author of the E-Myth, fantastic book that shows sort of the same process of building out systems in a business, and a business that's not solely dependent, reliant on the business owner. But what he said was systems permit ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results predictably. Systems are not the end all be all of business. You need good people, but a system to get good people, and good people utilizing good systems make extraordinary results. So systems so integrally important to a good running business and enabling your people to be great and get great results. So the kind of the process for systemizing a function, if it's something like estimating, software and resource setup. So you're going to need to set up the software, or if it's like some sort of resources that you need set up if you're doing stuff on site, like what is the actual system? Could be tech, could be physical, setup or whatever. After that, you want to ask yourself, what can we automate? There's no use building an operating procedure or some large documented system if you can find some technology that can just automate this, or even maybe like a third party where your team doesn't have to handle it, or parts of it can get automated. Do that first so that you're not wasting your time when you build out the actual operating procedure. Once it's automated, then you want to create a workflow. And I'll show you what a workflow looks like in just a moment here. Workflow is the big steps. What does this look like from the 10,000-foot view? What are the main 5, 10 steps? And then how is it charted? What documents, how are things linked? What decisions need to be made? So this is a really good visual representation where you're going to lose a lot of people if you just give them a document like, here's the operating procedure, go read through it, right? It'll help and they should get it, but it doesn't really click unless you have a visual representation. So that's why I do the workflow next. Then you build the SOP. So now you got the workflow. Now you can build an SOP from that workflow. And then after the SOP is documented and dialed in, then you can create a training video. You just do a Zoom, screen share, something like that. If it's computer based, if it's site-based, usually you can just find videos online. So if you're training your guys as far as like how to frame a wall, you don't need to, create a bunch of internal framing videos for your guys. There's probably ones on YouTube or wherever that you just find one that's like, yeah, that's good information. It's a training resource. It's not the end all be all. And I think that's another thing to remember is all these systems are continually getting improved. They're not the end all be all. There's still going to be on-site training and feedback, and it's going to take them a little while till they get things. But if you can get them to like a 80, 90% proficiency before they step on site or before they start doing the process, their training is just going to be so much more quicker. And they're going to do it in the right way, which is the main reason to get this in place. So this is what a new lead workflow, just as an example. But essentially with a workflow, you got a starting, it's going to go to the next step. So lead comes in, you're going to call the lead. Someone's got to call them. Could be a receptionist, could be you, whoever. You're going to ask them the qualifying questions. So where are they located? What's their budget? When are they thinking of building? So all that kind of stuff to realize, is this a qualified lead? Do you even provide the service for them? Can you help them or not? And then those ones in purple on the top, that's like the actual SOP document. And then also like a form that either they can fill out or your admin person can fill out, whoever's fielding that call. And those will have links as well, so that anybody who sees this workflow, they can then link to those other documents. So it not only represents like how everything works for this process, it also like links to all the resources someone could need for the, the video, the SOP, the forms, whatever kind of stuff they may need to actually utilize this process. And then typically you're going to have some sort of decisions depending what the process is. So qualified, yes, great. Schedule them for, a home visit or, builder's meeting, whatever. If they're not qualified, send them a little bit of a email, tell them like, unfortunately, we can't help you, whatever your process is, right? So I think you get it. This is like a workflow that you'd want to put in place before the SOP and the training video. All right, so now with this maps press process, you've got a straightforward method to systemize and organize your construction company. You identify the roles, the tasks, any gaps in your organization, fix the confusion and miscommunication, and then build complete trainable systems. Trainable is the key thing. It's good to have a system that you can operate or someone can operate, but you need like a system for training the systems, and that's where the magic happens, and that's where a self-running, self-managing business really takes off. So now that you know this whole process, you're going to want to go check out this next video over here on how to actually implement the systems, get your people utilizing the systems, and after you build the system, to make sure that you're getting the results and it's getting used inside your company.